So going into the game this past Sunday in New Orleans against the Saints, you had the Bears team coming off of two straight wins with some momentum, a defense playing really well, a running game fueled by Jordan Howard that was getting things done, and a quarterback in Trubisky, a young kid who wasn't given much of a chance to do much within the offense and really wasn't screwing the pooch all that much. The Bears had won two in a row, so they were starting to look like a little bit of a surprise team, or at least a really good bad team, going into New Orleans against at the time before the game, a 4-2 Saints team that was looking at trying to get into first place in the NFC South. Now the game starts off with the Bears deferring the opening coin toss, which I get the strategy and I understand. The defense is the strength of your team. You go out there, if you stop them on the road, you get the ball first in the second half, you've got some momentum for your team. I get it. That said, I don't know that that's always a wise strategy on the road, especially with a team like the Saints with Drew Brees as their quarterback, because if you don't stop them defensively, you've given them 3 or 7 points to start off the game. Now they've got the crowd involved, they've got momentum, and you're in a hole to begin with before your offense has even touched the field. So John Fox deferred. And what happened? The Saints immediately proceeded on the first drive of the game to drive right down the Bears' throats, and Alvin Kamara topped it off with an 8-yard touchdown run. So one drive, the Bears are down 7-0. Now with that said, the Bears came back a little bit later, and with the 45-yard bomb from Trubisky to Trey McBride to put the Bears in field goal position, hey, newsflash, Connor Barth actually can occasionally hit a field goal. The Bears pulled within 7-3. But then, of course, soon after, the Saints go on an 80-yard, 8-play drive, which is capped off by Mark Ingram's 1-yard touchdown run, and you look at it, and the Bears are really behind the 8 ball now. It's 14-3. So you let them get the ball in the opening drive and get that momentum, get the crowd involved, get the team pumped up, and then they come back soon after, and another touchdown run. It's 14-3. Now the Bears responded with that 11-play, 45-yard drive right before the half. But of course, Connor Barth going to do Connor Barth things, and he said, "Oh, you think Roberto Aguayo can miss kicks? Let me show you what I can do." He missed that kick right before the half, and the Bears were in a bad place at the half, 14-3, with no real momentum built up on the offensive side of the ball. The Saints in a relatively good rhythm themselves on the offensive side of the ball. The Bears needed to come back and respond in a big way. And they responded. They came out in the second half. You had Jordan Howard break off a little bit into the third quarter, a 50-yard run, which helped spur an 8-play, 72-yard drive. And Connor Barth this time decided he wanted to make a field goal, and it was 14-6. And then early on in the fourth quarter, after a drive, the Saints hit a field goal themselves, and now it's 17-6. And you're starting to do the math, and you realize that the Saints' defense isn't playing that bad. They've played pretty well the past few weeks. The Bears' offense really isn't much. They are definitely one-dimensional and lack any type of real threat in the passing game. So 17-6 against the Saints team on the road with Drew Brees on the other side as a starting quarterback seems like a pretty insurmountable deficit to overcome. Well, the Bears fought back, and I will give this team this year. They have fought, and they have fought, and they have fought. And in that fourth quarter, you got a 10-play, 72-yard drive. Tariq Cohen dived in from the 1, and even though they didn't hit the 2-point conversion, it's 17-12. And halfway through that fourth quarter, so you're looking at it and you're saying, oh my God, the Bears are in position. A touchdown could win this game. And then they force a Mark Ingram fumble, his second fumble of the game, and you're wondering, hey, the Bears are in good shape here. They've got some rhythm. They've got the momentum right now. They could go down and score and beat the Saints, a team that they honestly, based off the first 3 quarters, had no real business beating. Unfortunately, then the Bears immediately turned it over on downs. The Saints kicked a field goal late to go up 20-12. The Bears still get the ball back, though, with a chance to go down with a touchdown and 2-point conversion to tie it. And then you had that really bad interception with Trubisky, threw it to Marshawn Lattimore. The receiver and him clearly weren't on the same page. Whoever you want to blame, it doesn't matter. The end result was an interception by Marshawn Lattimore. Game over. Bears lose 20-12. So the Saints now at 5-2 sit at first place alone in the NFC South, and the Bears are sitting at 3-5 and looking potentially at a situation where they could have pulled to 500 with this game, and maybe looking at a game that when it came down to it, they had a chance to win, but they ultimately didn't get it done. Lots to talk about from this game. That started with the good. Jordan Howard, another 100-yard rushing game, 23 carries, 102 yards, which again is really, really impressive considering teams know first, second, in a lot of cases third down, they're going to run the football. They are running the tread off of Jordan Howard right now, and he is responding. He is a franchise back for this offense, no question about it. Trey McBride had 3 receptions for 92 yards. He had a couple of big plays in particular, and it was nice to see for the Bears. Need somebody to step up on the outside, and seeing Trey McBride come in and have a couple of big plays like this provided a little bit of an injection to that offense, some life into that offense. This was another game when the Bears defensively won the turnover battle 2-1. And the general rule is if you win the turnover battle, specifically if you win the turnover battle when you're on the road, more often than not you will win a game. While they didn't win this game, it is a good sign to see that they are forcing some turnovers, which was a huge problem for this defense last year and was a huge problem for this defense early on this season, and they're restricting the amount of times they turn over the ball themselves. They held the Saints to 2 for 9 on third down conversions, and really honestly, if you look at this from an entirety picture, this was the 6th game out of 8 this year that the Bears had a chance to win. They had a chance to win this game. They didn't. But you look at Atlanta, really should have won that game. Minnesota, they were in position. They could have won that game. And you look at this game Sunday, they had a chance to win this game. The difference between good teams and bad teams is a good Chicago Bears team wins 2 or 3 of those games, and they're sitting at 6-2 or 5-3, banging with the Vikings in the NFC North. The reality is the Bears are not yet a good team, so they lost all 3 of those games that they frankly could have, and maybe in some cases should have, won. But that is still a positive thing for this team going forward, knowing that it is getting better. It doesn't always feel like it, but they are. Now, in terms of the bad, I like a reference that opening drive. You let the Saints at home in the Superdome go right down the field on you, 7 plays. Didn't even take them 4 minutes to get there. Kamara with the 8-yard touchdown run. Kamara, I thought, was great in the action that he had. But to defer to the second half, to give the Saints the ball at home with Drew Brees as the quarterback, I get it. If you stop them, it's a great early momentum builder for your defense. But the fact is you didn't stop them. So now I get to criticize the decision because that was bad and it set you behind the 8 ball from the very beginning of the game. Connor Barth missing another field goal. I understand maybe why this team cut Robbie Gould before last season or whatever. Salary cap reasons, so they bring in guys like Josh Sitton and da-da-da-da-da. But the simple fact of the matter is this team needs to find another kicker. And I don't know if they can wait until this upcoming offseason. Because this is a team that, when you look at them, especially offensively, they need to score every single point that they can. Because you don't know how many times this offense is going to get into scoring position. You can't have a guy that you can't trust to make kicks, especially in a situation like the Bears. They don't have an explosive offense that can go out there and put up 4 or 5 touchdowns every game. They're lucky to put up 2. Most games, they're lucky to put up 1. You have to be able to convert on those field goals, and they just can't count on Connor Barth. In terms of the ugly, where this game you could argue really turned, even though some of the cynics are going to point to, well, the Bears got a couple of gift penalties later in the game to make up for some bad calls, and perhaps that's true. But Kyle Fuller's offside on that first drive. Technically, the Bears had stopped the Saints, and it was going to be a field goal. It was going to be 3 points. But Fuller lined up offside when he was on the line of scrimmage. He lined up in the neutral zone. You just can't have that. For a guy that has been playing so well this year and looking like he should be an important part of the Bears' defense in the future, you just can't have that type of mistake. It takes the 3 off the board, the Saints get the ball, and that's when you get the Kamara 8-yard touchdown run. Then you get Connor Barth's missed field goal. So you look at that right there, that's 7 points. 3 became 7. The Bears didn't get 3. And then that atrocious call against Zach Miller. I mean, the dude almost literally severed his leg to try and catch that ball. And this comes down to the Calvin Johnson rule and the stupidity of all this. What happened with Dez Bryant? Maybe by the letter of the law, it's not a catch, but maybe that's the problem. The law is freaking stupid. And the guy had his leg bent 6 ways from the wrong way, rolls over all the way with this horribly broken freaking leg, dislocated leg. And then when he finally stops rolling over, he puts the ball on the ground and drops it. And we call that an incompletion. After review, after it was initially called a touchdown. There should be some type of rule in the NFL that if you break your leg making the catch, that you get to you don't get that call overturned. Zach Miller earned that touchdown, by God. He deserved that touchdown, and the Bears, frankly, really needed that touchdown, and it felt like they got robbed by the goddamn officials or the replay officials. Either way, they got screwed. And then, of course, the real ugly of the game was Zach Miller's injury. It was really bad and was really awkward. I'm watching it on TV. The first time or two they showed the replay, the guys in the commentary booth really aren't alluding to the fact that, oh my God, his leg bent in an entirely different, unnatural way. They kind of ignored it, and then I think somebody told them in their ear, oh my God, stop showing this freaking replay because it's showing him breaking his leg all over the place. So imagine how awkward it is trying to review the play, and you have to continue to watch this guy break his leg over and over and over again. And then you heard that he was having emergency vascular surgery on that leg because there was some fear similar to Teddy Bridgewater that his leg was at risk. Thankfully, it sounds like he's past that and shall recover. But is that the last NFL game he played? And for him in general, Zach Miller, it sucks because this is a guy that's shown some ability to make some plays. He's a talented player, but he's just never been able to stay healthy throughout his entire NFL career. And how fitting and appropriate it would be based off of his career trajectory if this is the way that his NFL career ended. It's just really sad and unfortunate. I hope the best for him because that was a rough deal. But now I want to get to the 2-minute drill. And it's something I've talked about before, and I have a feeling it's something I'm going to continue to talk about. Here's what I know. Through the first 3 quarters of Sunday's game, the Bears ran a total of 44 plays on the offensive side of the ball. 44 of them. 44 of them. In the first quarter, they ran 14. 11 of them runs, 3 of them passes. In the second quarter, they ran 19 plays, 11 passes, 8 runs. In the third quarter, 7 runs to 4 passes. And why am I not throwing in the fourth quarter? I'm not throwing in the fourth quarter because at that point in time, game situation dictated that the Bears had to throw the football more. That's what that dictates, is they had no choice but to ultimately throw the football double-digit times in the fourth quarter to try and win that game, to try and score quicker. 44 total plays run through 3 quarters. This team ran the ball 26 times and threw it only 18. I want you to think about that. They're running the ball at a much greater clip than what they're throwing the ball. And what's really striking here is the predictability of this Bears offense. I keep talking about it, and it is a huge issue. It does no benefit to your offense in general and your young quarterback specifically to be so damn conservative, so damn scared, so damn lacking in confidence that you feel like you have to run the ball on first or second down every single time. Because here's what you're doing. If you don't pick up yardage on first and second down on the ground, now you've put your young quarterback into third and long situations on the road. Who the frick thinks that that's a good game plan strategy? The Bears had 19 first down plays in the first 3 quarters, and they threw a total of 5 of them. The fact that Jordan Howard averages over 2 yards a carry in this offense, with teams loading the box on first and second down, specifically on first down, knowing that this team is going to run the ball consistently. If you know what they're going to do, that's a pretty big advantage to have, and the Bears don't hide it. They don't shy away from it. It's one thing to have a philosophy and a strategy. It's another thing to play chicken shit football. And this is another game I look at right here. We're playing chicken shit football, and calling chicken shit football potentially could have cost the Bears another game. And by the way, out of those 5 first down plays in the first 3 quarters that they did throw the ball, they had 3 positive plays. And what I call a positive play would be a gain of 4 yards or more. You had, in the first quarter, Trubisky with a 4-yard scramble, the 45-yard completion to Trey McBride. You gained 4 yards on a first down run off of a called pass play, and then you hit a 45-yard big play, in part because the defense of the Saints had no idea you were actually going to throw on first down because you do it so rarely. And that doesn't make it a good strategy. You caught them with their pants down because they couldn't believe you actually finally did it. And then in the second quarter, sure, there was an incompletion, but then you had the 13-yard completion to Kendall Wright. So 1 incompletion out of 8 first down plays, You had 2 passing plays. One of them was incompletion, and one of them was a first down throw for 13 yards to Kendall Wright. And then in the third quarter, you had 5 first down plays. You only called 1 pass, and it was an incompletion. But look at that. You had a 13-yard pass play, a 45-yard completion, and a 4-yard run. But you only called a pass play on 5 of your 19 first downs. The league is about balance. It's about getting teams off of their rhythm, getting into your own rhythm, and to go into such a protective shell. Even John Shute thinks this is a conservative chicken shit crap. You're not doing your offense any favors. You're going to run the legs off of Jordan Howard much earlier than you actually need to for some bad football teams. And then you're doing absolutely nothing to develop Mitchell Trubisky. Ultimately, you put the young kid in because Glennon wasn't the guy. So stop coaching like Mike Glennon is your goddamn quarterback. And sitting there and having Trubisky continue to work on his handoff game is not developing a young quarterback. That's not getting a young quarterback better. That's not putting that young quarterback in the best situation to succeed. And based off of what I've seen out of Trubisky now through, 4 games, I have some concerns. Some of it has to do with the pass protection at times on the outside hasn't been great. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that the wide receivers aren't separating. There's a lack of talent out there. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that your stupid-ass chicken shit play calling in the first and second down situations puts your young quarterback consistently in third and long, and that's not the type of position, Dowell Loggins, John Fox, that you want to put your young quarterback in. Do you understand, you freaking morons? But yet you continue to persist to do so. So what happens? Trubisky holds on to the ball too long. He was a guy at North Carolina that struggled to go through his progressions. He is struggling to go through his progressions now. Sometimes these wide receivers do occasionally get separation, and he misses them because you're putting too much pressure on him to be perfect. So he's making some good throws. He's making some really bad and inaccurate throws. His coaching staff just doesn't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to the offensive side of the ball in the passing game and developing the young quarterback, period. And it makes me really, really nervous about the future of this young kid as the quarterback for the Bears if they continue to put him in these type of bad situations as a rookie. There's nothing wrong with playing him. He should have been starting from day one. You drafted the kid number 2 overall for a reason. Granted, it might have been the front office believed in the guy, but ultimately the organization drafted the kid number 2 overall. You should not be in a position where you are hiding your number 2 overall pick. I look at last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz came out of the gate very hot. Then teams started to catch on to him. He had some fundamental issues in terms of his throwing mechanics, and he struggled and he scuffled and he was very inconsistent to at times bad the second half of 2016. But they let him learn. They let him make these mistakes. Doug Peterson, because he knows what he's doing offensively with a young quarterback, put his young quarterback in much better situations to succeed. So when they went out in the offseason and they upgraded the offensive side of the ball and the talent around Carson Wentz on the offensive side of the ball, lo and behold, wouldn't you frickin' know, the Philadelphia Eagles are 7-1 and Carson Wentz in his second year is a legit MVP candidate. Now, no, Mitchell Trubisky is not a Carson Wentz in terms of talent, and I think we all know that's how I feel. But how I also feel is right now, the best shot this Bears organization has to be a viable, relevant, contending team in the future is for Mitchell Trubisky to develop into that guy at the quarterback position. Because if he fails, it benefits no one and it damages this organization for years. And this chicken shit play calling of always being predictable on first and second down, specifically on first down, and being so afraid to throw the ball, and then only throwing the ball when the game situation dictates you have absolutely no choice, so you've put even more pressure on the young quarterback. You're just not doing the kid any favors. You're not doing your offense any favors. You're not doing your team any favors. And ultimately, it's why the Chicago Bears are 3-5 instead of being 4-4, 5-3, or maybe even 6-2, because of dumb shit like this.